What a splendiferous day to all of you. I am Ricky Manong, the leader of Group 1. So to start the video presentation, let us define first what is corporation by watching this video.
When you start your own business, you have a million decisions to make. But one of the most important ones is its legal structure. A popular option is a corporation. So what is a corporation? Here's how it works. A corporation is its own legal entity separate from the owners. It has nearly all the legal rights of an individual. It can hire employees, own assets, enter into contracts, sue and be sued, loan and borrow money, and pay taxes. But since the corporation exists as a separate entity, it limits the liability of its owners. That means shareholders have the right to participate in profits, but they're not held personally liable for the company's debts. And since a corporation isn't linked to a single person, it doesn't dissolve when its owners or shareholders change or die. So liability protection is passed on to the next in line. Corporations are the only type of business that pay their own income taxes on profits, unlike sole proprietorships and LLC profits that pass through the business to their owners, who report business income or losses on their personal tax returns. There are three types of corporations. S corporations pay taxes like LLCs. C corporations pay corporate taxes on earnings before distributing remaining profits in the form of dividends, and non-profits are exempt from taxes because they carry out an activity for the public benefit. InkFile has handy guides that will help you decide which entity is right for you. Ready to take the next step and form your corporation? You can choose to do it yourself, but incorporating a business can be complicated. With InkFile, you'll know that you're doing everything you can to set your company and yourself up for success.
In other terms, a corporation is a separate legal body formed by individuals, investors, or shareholders with the intent of profiting. Corporations can enter into an agreement, take legal action and be found liable, possess investments, pay tax liabilities and inherent financing from people.
Thank you for defining the corporation, Ricky. To learn more about corporation, your fellow group members will discuss the documentary entitled The Corporation.
It's no exaggeration to say that today, the flow of the world heavily rely on money, which is why more and more people are striving to be at the top of the food chain. But have you ever thought of owning everything this world has to offer? Is it okay to do so? That is why today we are presenting you our very own understanding of the award-winning documentary film, The Corporation. The film was based from the best-selling book of Joel Bakan, The Corporation, The Pathological Pursuit of Profit and Power.
The documentary explored the development of modern business corporation and how it's systematically compelled to behave for profit, which at some point ends up violating laws. The film signifies that corporations are government-chartered institutions which affect public functions and legal rights of a person. It also examines and criticizes corporate practices through interviews and short literary compositions.
Throughout the film, it showed us that corporations indeed have a considerable contribution to the development and economy of every country. They have gained the legal status of person, which make them eligible to have the same rights and protection the public has. Yet the problem is that these corporations are also the reason for the people, animals, and earth sufferings. They are far alike from the public because they have no soul to save and no body to incarcerate. They willingly do anything like harmful actions and decisions to satisfy themselves and their shareholders by producing money. They do not care about people's health and they do not mind being deceitful about their product and causing extreme harm to human health. They do everything, including breaking the law, to get what they want. And with all of this, they don't feel guilty at all because they only care about money and power. With that said, the documentary gives inspiring solutions such as people having power over the corporations by fighting back to them, reminding them that no one should underestimate the power of people. Because as Noam Chomsky said, they are not graven stones. Corporations can be dismantled.
At the beginning, they describe corporation as a bad apple, a jigsaw puzzle, a sports team, a family that works together for a common end, and etc. Joe Badaracco, a professor of business ethics, also defined corporation as a group of individuals that works together and have the same goal, which is to gain profit. It was also mentioned that corporation is a form of business ownership. It is individuals working together to serve a variety of objectives for large, growing, sustained legal returns for the people who own the business. According to the film, the birth of corporations started on the industrial age in 1712 when a steam-driven pump was invented by an Englishman named Thomas Newcomen. This states the brief history of an American company that was granted the legal status of a person in the mid-80s, granting the same rights and protections as individuals. The 14th Amendment was created for the black people, to give them the equal rights and to avoid slavery. It stated that every people cannot be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the process of law. According to the lawyers, corporation is also a person. Therefore, it should also be considered under the law as a legal person. Originally, corporation is an association of people that were chartered by the states to create particular function. The corporation starts in finding a group of people who want to invest their money in a company, and these people apply to a charter as a corporation. The government issues a charter to the corporation, then it can operate legally as an individual person, not a group of people. It is under the law a legal person. Its features are limited liability, transferability of shares, juridical personality, and indefinite duration.
In the case history, corporation abused its power just to generate a huge amount of profits and became desperate to control and privatize everything, including water and immigration. It is when the black people was being criticized, manipulated, and abused. It is also discussed the pathology of commerce, where the corporation was considered as a psychopath because of its characteristics such as callous unconcern for the feelings of others, incapacity to maintain enduring relationships, recklessly disregard the safety of others, deceitfulness or repeatedly lying and conning others for profit, incapacity to experience guilt, and failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors. In regards to how harmful corporation is, there is still some corporations that create waste or innovations in order to develop a way of sustainable production. There are some companies that create good for the sake of the community. They produce goods and services that are value to all the people that makes their life better. The documentary also tackles about mindset. People would rather choose money over a person that has a good intention. In boundary issues, it is where the general agreement of trades happened between organizations, the World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, and the Summit of the America. Where it comes to basic training, corporation manipulated their customers and corporation was defined as a gain. The goal of the corporation is to maximize their profit and market share and achieve their target consumers. The main point of the documentary is for people to have chance in gaining knowledge in order for them to act the way they should be, without experiencing abuse from the corporation.
My insights about the issues in the corporations they tried to revive the economy in the middle of 15th century. They worked to look for new sources to increase their wealth. They planned everything according to the plans and right procedure. The economy needs more attention because it will be more risky if they did not do anything to survive it. The growth of economy will increase if the person knows how to manage it correctly and follow the given procedures. If they're good at handling, the issue will be easy for them to make an action to save the economy. The commons is a natural resources for all people in the society, like the example of water and air that include in the video. And if someone unfollow them, there is a given punishment waiting for them, and it will work to protect and advocate everyone to do the right thing.
The purpose of the film is to demonstrate that there is a significant difference between an individual and a company. Individuals are required to demonstrate social and ethical responsibilities, but a corporation primary legal responsibility is to maximize profit for its shareholders. According to this video, this one-dimensional approach leads to the labor abuse, environmental degradation, accounting tampering, and so on. Most educated liberals will be familiar with the attacks on big business, ethical and social action that makes up this documentary. However, with throughout research, a clear presentation, and a smart tie in with American recent corporate scandal should be compel uneducated viewers to consider the role of big business in the globe more seriously. Legalize destruction. There are laws and legal explanation of the action and service introduced by corporation, and people can do nothing to stop them.
The advantage that a corporation has is that they have limited liability. It even has the rights that a person has. For example, it can buy and sell property, it can borrow money, it can sue in court, and be sued by it. It carries on a business. In other words, corporation can be compared to an individual person. The disadvantage of a corporation is that they can harm people just to achieve their goal. For the reason that they are more concerned on getting a profit than to the rights of the people.
The first thing I have noticed in the documentary is the pros of corporation, which are the power that is very important and helps them to grow faster, influence, and made a huge impact on people's lives. The second one is the contribution, their contribution to people and society's industry. The cons of corporation are they are being abusive to control. Since they have the power, they can manipulate everything, and they reach to the point that they do not even care if they harm people, animals, and environment. Next is corporation is individualist. Because, however, some of them are not, but mostly in reality they are, because they care more about themselves, their success, and mostly their profit. The last thing is they are responsible for some of them because they don't take actions for the consequences of the mistakes they did.
Corporation is described and considered to be a person since they are given most rights and obligation a natural person has, like entering a contract and paying taxes. They were described in the documentary to be immortal because a corporation can still go on even if a stockholder dies because of diversified ownership. It is also mentioned in the documentary that corporations were considered to be greedy people and only think of how they can gain more profits at any given opportunity and time. So, as a corporation gets more prominent and more profitable, it is said that more people pay for the impact corporations do on society.
Corporation is a special person designed by law to be concerned only by the stockholders. It is also mentioned in the documentary that corporations also have given the rights of an immortal person who have no moral conscience.
The corporation is given rights and immortal but then special kind of person who have moral concern. These are special kind of person that are designed by law being concerned only for their stockholders.
Corporation is presented in an informative and impressive way. The message that the documentary wants to convey is stated effectively and clearly. It shows the true appearance of corporations and their impact on people, the environment, and to the world we live in. The way a corporation was described as a psychopath in nature is an eye-opener to how a corporation really works. In this documentary, I discovered the power of corporations to bring either good or bad changes to society and the economy. I also learned that out of greed, they are willing to do everything for the sake of money and power. They can neglect to address the negative impact of their activities or operations because corporations only exist for the purpose of making a profit and serve the shareholders, not the public. On the contrary, a corporation is not the root of destruction. It is the abusive and greedy people who run the corporation. This can't be good for humanity. It becomes a danger to the health of people and the planet. That's why businesses need to reform to what is best for people and nature. Business should not into profit only.
The documentary film discussed the pathology of commerce, where they define corporations as a psychopath monstrous obligations, a mindset, and boundary issues. Here in boundary issues, it is where the general agreement on targets and trades happened between the three organizations: the World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, and the Summit of the America Basic Training, where they manipulate customers. They define cost corporation as a gain. They also said the goal of corporation is to maximize profit and market share and to their target consumers. The main thing about incorporation is that they are a group of individuals, meaning they can lessen liability. Having less liability allows you to function more and simply to eat from the hands of the law and hide under the banner of the corporation. You cannot simply charge one part of a group or just one individual. In the movie, it is stated that transnational corporations arises from the occurrence of 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was needed for black people to avoid slavery. The creation of 14th Amendment is also the eradication of slavery in the West, and the 14th Amendment recently states that black people or every people cannot be deprived of life, property, and rights at the due process of the law.
To summarize, corporations are designed to value monetary profit above all. Upon watching the documentary and by understanding the several issues of modern corporation, we come up with the same and one definition. The filmmakers even present the corporation as a paradox, an institution that creates great wealth but causes enormous and often hidden harms. The film maintains that modern corporations are driven by the motive to generate profits for shareholders, regardless of how this affects the interests of workers, society, or the environment. It focuses on a select number of areas in which corporations have caused damage, including child labor, low wages, manipulative advertising, unhealthy foods, and environmental damage. In fact, some of the professionals make their own diagnosis, which is corporations by definition have a personality disorder and can be categorized as psychopathic. That is because they single-mindedly pursue their own wills and desires without any consideration for other people or other corporations and without reference to conventional morality. Advantages and disadvantages of corporation. As we all know, corporations can also be advantageous to people. They provide and create a way for the people to continue living. In the film, we can see how corporations help people from starving. Corporations also produce goods and services that make us life better. But behind these advantages, we cannot really change the fact that corporations have the only one goal, and that is to maximize their profit and to prioritize the interests of their companies and shareholders above all others and forbid them from being socially responsible. Labor abuse is extremely visible in corporation. Like for example, low wages. In the documentary, the shirt which is being sold is cost higher than what the workers earn. People who are in poverty even accept a very low wage that is enough to buy their food for them to be able to survive. Connected with that issue is the child labor. Children are not paid as much as adults and can be seen as easier to control. They are less likely to demand higher wages or better working conditions.
Corporation is considered as a mortal person since it has diversified ownership. It is a kind of organization that created to serve the interest of its members. It is supposed to be greedy individuals who only focus on how they would generate more revenue at any given time. They are legally compelled to be solely concerned with their stockholders, not the community or their personnel. It is a corporate construct that has been awarded through under prescribed conditions. In this documentary, we discover the power of corporation to bring either good or bad changes to society and the economy. By watching the documentary, we discover that corporations only exist for purpose of making a profit and serve the shareholders, not the public. But there are corporations that still can provide services and goods that are beneficial to us and serve individuals to live a better lives, but the challenge here is the financial incentive, because these people believe that there's no such thing as enough. And people always respond that no organization on earth can underestimate its economic foundation for the development. The way it was classified as psychopath in nature is enlightening in regards of how it actually works. It shows the true appearance of corporations and their impact on people, environment, and the world we live in.
Undoubtedly, corporations are considered as the world's leading institutions of today's time. It has been evolving from an entirely inconsequential part of the industry until it becomes a crucial aspect, as it wields immense control and influence to the lives of people. This particular role that they are playing is something we should fear, as it is slowly conquering the world and will completely devour humans over their lives. Maybe not today, but surely in the future. Certainly, corporations can be compared to an eagle, they say. It's soaring, clear-eyed, competitive, and prepared to strike. These words are the image that these companies wanted to paint in our minds. And what they conceal is their underlying monstrous side at anyone's expense. The harms they continuously bring us and the permanent damage they did to us are all clear now. And one thing's for sure, corporations are destructive.
Based on our findings we gathered through visual analysis, we therefore conclude that most of the corporation companies had affected its environment negatively. For instance, like what is mentioned on the documentary that we've watched, stated the harmful effects in the environment, such as serious diseases, cause of pollution, and abusing the poor animals into forcing them to produce what they need. In addition, we conclude that most of the corporation company members had a greedy mindset in order for them to attain their prior goal, which is to earn money.
Still, corporations believe that in devastation there is an opportunity. That is the mindset of people in the corporate world. Businesses find opportunities in any crisis and they treat it as a blessing in disguise. When people are suffering from a certain situation, companies would grab that opportunity to still gain profit, even if it was in the middle of a bombing war. This made the corporation be compared to a psychopath due to its lack of empathy. It is unconcerned the feeling of others, incapacity to maintain enduring relationships, reckless disregard for the safety of others, deceitful and repeated lying and conning others for profit, and incapacity to experience guilt. Those are the diagnoses of psychology to corporation that are similar to a clinically diagnosed psychopath. It doesn't care about the flat and smooth roads that the people need, the bridges that people are walking by that contributed to the growth of the city, but it only cares about how they can make profit.
Furthermore, these day almost every public property has been sold to a private owner. Those are properties that must be unrestricted and available for everyone have been limited to those who own them in reality. It doesn't make sense. Somehow since the who exert an effort and invest in maintaining the place be the owner of it. As long as it's legal, then there is no problem. However, thinking about how one day everything will be owned by somebody to the extent that every place you go into will have price attached to it, that's the unforable concept of privatization. Aside from a properties event, a gen can also be a patent. Just concluding about it, maybe 10 years from now, the global companies will be acquired directly by licensing the actual then that make up the evolution of species.
When it comes to consumers, companies truly examine them well just to direct them into buying their products or availing their services, to the extent that they are hiring professional psychologists to understand their consumers' mind. They are indeed the monsters of manipulation, especially on how some companies order their employees to tell a totally falsified report for the sake of keeping the real thing from the public. The power of the media. They just let us see what they wanted us to see.
Overall, the documentary film opened our eyes to see what is happening in our world. This effectively explained the power and influence that corporations have in our lives. In the first place, the most dominant and particular aim of a corporation is to make a profit. Individuals that are involved in this type of business ownership contribute in its development and conceptualize to make a better organization. One of the advantages of this type of business ownership is having a well-generated formula and ideas for maximizing profit. The reason for this result is the collective ideas from the individuals who are involved. More members means more ideas can be generated. However, there is also a particular disadvantage to it. Because of the growing profit of the corporation, the attention of the corporation is focused on profit, even though they create profit in an unethical way and inhuman. Establishing a corporation must be precise and concise. Avoiding the unethical way of creating profit must be the focus of organization, because in the end, it may also destroy the established world that we're living in. In line with this, the film directly highlights the potential consequences if the situation progresses in its direction. However, in our age of globalization, where corporations control the economy, politics, and even more people's mind, any opportunity to bring the truth to people should be taken, and this documentary did its best to do so.